You know, these two, they are brothers from the same litter, and they are destined to spend the rest of their lives together. I have never seen two creatures so connected, so, I don't know, just so codependent on each other in my entire life. Quite like these two cats. It's just incredible. You cannot. It would be almost animal cruelty to separate these two into different households. It just, you can't do it. You know, whenever this one right here on the left, that's Tommy. He doesn't like us. Tommy does not like us. He will not let us cuddle with him. He will not let us touch him. We cannot go near him. Maybe a couple feet. That's it. If I walk any closer to this bed, he will run. We don't know why. Oreo, on the other hand, little black and white one, he's a tuxedo cat. He watches my every move. He meows at me, wants me to pick him up. I was out cleaning the yard, and he watched me the entire time through the window. When I came in the house, he came up to my legs and tried to trip me and pay me. You know, he loves me. Will not let my girlfriend pick her up. And the funny thing is, she's the one who picked him out from the litter. I picked out Tommy. She picked out Oreo. In fact, it was her idea to get the cats in the first place, and I'm glad I said yes. Because I love them. I love them both. But this is not a cat video. We're going to talk about lighting. So by now, any longtime viewer of my channel knows that I really love to preserve the past. I love to preserve historical relics, and when I bought this house 2 years ago, I had a great opportunity to buy a home built in 1954 that had never seen the ravages of DIY home renovations and the horrors that can produce. Holy crap. When I was looking at houses, I saw almost every stereotypical home buyer renovation, homeowner renovation and repair project. And some of these things that I saw were ghastly. I won't get into that, but it's a refreshing thing knowing that I have a house that was built properly once and not muddled with and hacked and patched and My job as a homeowner has been to restore and preserve. And that's it. But sometimes that can create problems in and of itself. All right, let's take for example. So this is almost a completely original kitchen, untouched by the Chip and Joanna Gaines wannabes of North America. Just untouched. Right down to the curtains. Yes, folks, these curtains are authentic 1950s handmade curtains made by the original owner for this kitchen. I hit the lottery when I found them in a box in the attic, and they were the only thing in that box that had not been ravaged by mice. That, my friends, is luck. It's almost as if they were left up there specifically for me, because anybody else would have bought this house, gutted it to the studs, and thrown those in the garbage. Maybe looked at them and said, "Hey, look, honey, 1950s curtains. Which box should I throw them in? Or which trash barrel should I throw them in?" I know. I'm weird. I get it. I'm strange, unusual. When people buy houses like this, and one example, and it's literally happening as I speak, there is a house in this neighborhood built a couple of years after this one. Completely original interior. not in good shape. I gotta say, the guy who owned it did not take care of it. The house looks kind of decrepit, and well, what they're doing is they're stripping it down to the bare studs, literally, like the entire inside of the house, gutted, floors, walls, ceilings, everything gone, electric, plumbing, just do it all over. The only thing they're preserving is the roof, which is fairly new, and that's it. But that's what people do. They buy a house and they want to make it their own. They want to make their house a reflection of their personality, a reflection of what they want to project to other folks who might come to visit them, friends and family and the occasional census worker. And hell, why not? If they're ever served court papers, hey, come on in, check out my kitchen. It looks just like what they did on HGTV. Oh, great, you've been served. Anyway. No, my whole mantra is, and this is, and then, again, you know how I said people want their homes to be a reflection of their personality, of their character, of what they want others to see when, you know, that holds true for myself as well. And my girlfriend, who lets me do pretty much whatever I want, with limitations. Yes, and she's actually not here right now. She's at her friend's house, but I don't often film with her around because I don't want to distract her from her work. She does a lot. She's taking classes and she does her thing, and I don't want to get, I don't want to talk loudly while she's around on video, and it's just distracting for her, I think. But anyway, she's probably going to watch this and say, what are you talking about? But she pretty much lets me, and I get her input on things. I get her input on a lot of things. Even though the house is technically, legally mine, I want to build a life with her. So I let her have a lot of say in things. And there are things that she won't let me do. Like, for example, I did broach the idea of replacing these countertops with something a little bit more modern and neutral. Like, for example, a Formica countertop with metal banding. But I wanted to do something in a darker color, like a reproduction boomerang pattern or something. The only thing wrong with these countertops is there's a wear mark right here. That's it. That's the only wear spot on the countertops. She says, why don't you leave them alone, because I like them. And I said, you know what? You're right. I like them too. I actually do like the yellow countertops. But if we ever decide to move on from this house and buy another house, somebody buys this, they're going to come in here with a bulldozer anyway. Regardless of what I do, they're going to come in with a bulldozer because HGTV said to. That's just how people are. Whatever the TV tells them to do, whatever the fancy magazines tell them to do, that's what they do. Okay, I don't judge. Okay, so I kind of do. Where was I? Yes, lighting. So, when you stick with a retro motif, a retro style in a particular room, there's one thing a lot of people overlook, and it's light fixtures. They might go down to Lowe's, as I did. When I bought this house, I replaced every light fixture. That was like one of the first things I did. This house had a lot of its original fixtures, and I did not save them because they were hideous. So this house it was basically a bulb fixture with a bracket that hangs down from it, upon which that bracket, the bracket was there to support a sagged glass square lampshade. And most of you know what I'm talking about. I thought I had saved one, but it turns out I didn't. So these little square things, you've seen them, you know what I'm talking about. You just trust me, you know what I'm talking about. Because they were ubiquitous. They were in almost every house built from the 40s all the way into, hell, even into the 80s. They were less common because they were kind of hideous, but I had those in the bedrooms. And I think there was a fairly basic style fixture in the hallway and over here as well. It was similar to this one here. This is not original. This is a replacement. But I'm fine with that one because you can't really, it's just whatever, it works. So those fixtures all got ripped out just because I don't like them. I think they're ugly. And the blue, yes, the blue square lampshades they would cast everything in a blue glow. I mean, what the hell were they thinking? So anyway, those all were ripped out. I'm sorry. I know I'm a preservationist. I like to keep things original, but I have my limits, guys. I really do. Those were just 120% hideous. I don't care if they're original. They suck. So, gone with those, and I put these in their places. With the exception of the master bedroom, I put these in, and I'm gonna here. Let me switch the camera to light so you can see what this is. This is I bought these as a contractor pack. I got like 4 of them for some arbitrary amount of money at Lowe's. They're actually nice looking. They really are. I like they have a very simple. You know, they're not outlandish. They look nice. They do the job, and yeah. So I put those in all the spots except for the master bedroom, which got a nice ceiling fan. But that's what I got. And I had one in the kitchen too, just because I needed to steamroll ahead and get this house livable so the both of us could move in. And you know, oh yeah, and I added, actually, I don't know if I ever did a video on this, but I added a fixture right here. This is a dining room fixture. And I tried to get something that was not too modern, not too outlandish. It's designed to look like a spindle drop, I think. Very nice. I like this fixture. It wasn't that expensive. I think it was like 60 bucks. And in lighting terms, that's actually quite inexpensive. It's also reversible. You can reverse this to be the other way around, but I chose that because for one selfish reason. If you have it the other way around, these collect dust. So, all right, back to lighting. So there is one particular style of fixture that you'll always find in a vintage kitchen. These fixtures were common from the late 40s, possibly the late 40s, but definitely early 50s, well into the 70s. And they were in production and still available, but in different styles, well into the 90s. Because they use a very efficient, for the time, light source. Now, most of you will know what I'm talking about. You just know because you think like I do. A lot of my viewers think like I do, and I think that's why you watch my videos. That's just a narcissistic observation, I guess. Assumption is what it is. Well, let me tell you. When I first looked at this house, I was kind of taken aback by the fact that this kitchen didn't have one of these fixtures installed. And I'm thinking, well, it must have at one point, because literally they were everywhere. Every house, it's like every house built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, the 80s, and today, to make it sound like a radio station. You get okay. They had these fixtures, and the earliest ones were basically, well, why don't I just cut the crap and let's take a look. So this is what I bought for this kitchen. This is a circline fixture. These were the most common fixture that you would find in a kitchen, typically a kitchen, a utility room, or a bathroom, for much of the post-war period. And what makes these so special is that, yes, they are efficient, relatively speaking. So, okay, Fluorescent bulbs, fluorescent lights today have been largely, almost completely replaced by LED fixtures, and for good reason. LEDs are cheaper to make. They are, well, maybe not cheaper to make. No, maybe about, I'm trying to think the cost of building a bulb. I think LEDs actually cost more to produce, but they're safer. The fluorescent fixtures, or sorry, the fluorescent bulbs themselves are really the problem. They have about a 5-year lifespan in this configuration. But the problem with fluorescents is they're not as energy efficient as LEDs, not by a long shot. But they're damn close. They are damn close to it. So, for example, this fixture uses a little bit less energy than a single 60-watt incandescent bulb, but about as much energy as about 4 LED bulbs. Actually, maybe even more than that, 5 or 6, perhaps. So these actually consume, this configuration, it's a 12-inch and an 8-inch bulb. They consume a little less than 60 watts. But you got to figure at the time period that these were common and very popular for their energy efficiency, they would have replaced a fixture that might have as many as 3 60-watt bulbs in it, or 2 100-watt bulbs, depending on how daring the homeowner was. 2 60-watt bulbs draws 120 watts. I mean, it's pretty simple math. So you'd go from 120 watts down to 60 watts, and it would produce even more power, or more light, than the 2 60-watt bulbs combined. So that's where you get the efficiency, aspect. They do have drawbacks, though, beyond that, and that is the hazardous nature of these fluorescent bulbs. They do contain mercury vapor, and that is kind of the looming. I wanted to be clever with this. That is one of the reasons why these are really being phased out with aggression these days. And fluorescent bulbs did get a bad rep with the CFL bulbs that were so common in the mid-2000s. CFL bulbs were a colossal waste of time. They had a very high failure rate, and they just plain sucked. But these are real fluorescent bulbs, and they do produce a fantastic amount of light for the amount of energy they produce. I have tried a number of LED bulbs. I've tried various bulbs in various settings in this house, trying to play with color temperatures, and I haven't really found one that I love, but I'm happy with the GE bulbs that I put pretty much in every fixture so far. And I don't remember which ones I bought, and I have to pull one out and see. But I really wanted to do the retro light fixture in this kitchen because you kind of have to. I mean, you've got the original chrome-plated exhaust fan, which, by the way, for you fan nuts, is a Fasco. This is sold as a unit. The fan and the ductwork were sold as a unit, which came with a switch, and I've seen at least one of them, new old stock, for sale, but it was really, really expensive. But the ductwork runs up, it goes above the ceiling joist, and it goes out through a little flappy vent thing. And that all works just fine. But anyway, I had to do the retro light thing here because, I mean, you just look at this kitchen. You have to. Now, imagine this kitchen with a checkerboard VCT floor. It's just going to look right. It's going to look perfect. Yes, this floor is going. Probably, depending on how much money I get saved up, I want to do it this summer. And I'm torn between VCT tile or ceramic. Ceramic would be significantly more expensive, but I think it would be a better choice overall. Anyway, so that's that. I put one of these in. Now this is not an original. I actually looked at some original fixtures that were for sale on eBay. There was one new old stock. It was a single 12-inch bulb model, so it didn't have the two bulbs, which is what I really wanted. But it had a nice glass, like a molded glass, beaded looking thing in the middle. Very beautiful fixture. I have a coworker that was going to give me a fixture from his house that he's selling. But he was, for reasons I don't know, he was never able to remove it and give it to me. But that fixture was in pretty rough shape. It had some rust in the chrome, and once you get rusted chrome, it's pretty much, yeah, maybe not. But that one used a single 16-inch bulb, and those are getting hard to find, but they do exist. A single 16-inch, so it actually was larger than the fixture itself, than the base. Very cool looking fixture, but I said, you know what, don't worry about it, I will just go buy one. Because I know he had a lot going on. I didn't want to pressure him into it. See, I get all my home design tips from Better Homes and Gardens. I mean, this is the publication that people use, right? To get all of their, ideas, right? I'm doing this right, aren't I? Better Homes and Gardens. It's an offshoot of HGTV, correct? Oh, wow, those carpets would look nice. The housing shortage, 1607 to 1946. It's funny, and I'm gonna take it. Yeah, make polio great again. So I'm gonna take a quick off the main subject and talk about this. Okay, this is kind of funny because let's I need more light. So why don't we do something about that, shall we? Ah, look at that. Brighter than the sun. So, this edition of Better Homes and Gardens, 1948. To September 1940... 1946, I stand corrected. All this time I thought it was a 48. September 1946. This is, we had just won the war. Well, we did what we had to do, and we had, baby boom. Anyway, this magazine talks about how to make your scary looking mansion, your Queen Anne, your Victorian, make it look like a modern house. This is, I'm really going down a rabbit hole here. But in this exact magazine, and this is, and it's funny because I'm talking about this right now as I yak away. Hey, I use that. Durkee's Oleomargarine. I love looking at old magazines. Who doesn't? But there are articles in here on examples. This is a type of stove that would have originally sat right there, more than likely, based on things. Yes, how to update your home. People never get old. They never get tired of ripping out perfectly good stuff, make their houses look like the latest and greatest of everything. But it was a thing back then too. It's nothing new. A brand new Ford V8 engine. Look at these stoves. Like, look at that. I wish I could still buy a stove like that. I can get a stove like that, but I'd have to completely redo all this and rethink what I'm doing here. Having an above microwave thing wouldn't look right with an old stove. Yeah, you kind of have to rethink a lot of things if you're going to go that far into it. Look at this kitchen, okay? This is kind of the idea of what we got going on here. This bathroom, I mean, again, same thing. This is pretty much what we got going on in this house. Although this is almost a full 10 years older than this house. But the 1950s styling was not much different. I love that. An advertisement for the original Ford V8, which came out in the 30s. But we're going to just pretend we're going to do a little bit of, a little bit of that. There is an article here somewhere, I swear to God. Eagle Pitcher Certified Insulation. Eagle Picture Corporation. Check this out. Oh, come on now. Eagle Picture windows. My aluminum storm windows were made by Eagle Picture. The company's still in business. I believe they're in the battery business now. But they are still around. Anti-slip wax. What the hell? Did I pass that article already? Landers, Frary, and Clark. Anyway, there's this whole thing about how, you know, those old drafty 1890s houses, you know, the old Victorians that we love so much now, they didn't love them in the 1940s. In fact, in the 1940s, I guess this kind of actually does kind of work, because there's a point to this. In the 1940s, the beautiful restored and even unrestored Queen Anne's, Victorians, and Georgians, and all those beautiful houses that were built around the late 19th century, early 20th century. Those houses in the 1940s were considered outdated, old, ugly, gross. Sound familiar? And now, to this day and age, right now, if you find one that is unrestored, or that is preserved, or, you know, otherwise in good condition and still features its original, you know, design elements, it's actually considered a good thing. It's actually a selling point now. And I have a theory. I'm pretty sure I found a perfect article in here. Oh, it might have been a different magazine. I thought it was this one. Now, I have a theory that houses that were built after World War II, during the housing boom, that still have the original look and feel that they were built with. By that, I mean original, maybe not original windows, but if the windows that replaced the original ones were sympathetic to the house's overall design, the flooring isn't like ultra modern whatever's on sale at Home Depot, but something nice and historically sympathetic. Cabinets that aren't, you know, some bastardized modern cabinet design that just doesn't look right in a house of that age. But original doors, original cabinetry, original sinks, light fixtures, or something sympathetic to that. Fireplaces and mantles. People rip those out now and they put modern brick and stone. I'm not into that. Thank you very much. But I have a theory that stuff like that, in another 10, 20, 30, 50 years, will be a selling point. And the number of homes, look at this. It's pretty much what, you know, that's actually quite nice looking. It's simple. It's subdued. It's not loud and obnoxious looking. But stuff like that is going to be appreciated more and more as the time goes on. And I do believe that. And I really, really do. Seriously, if you find an old magazine like this in your local antique shop, a lot of antique shops have a whole section dedicated to what they call paper goods, or ephemera. That's where you're going to find these. Get them online too, eBay, etc. But look at this. Here are some ideas for curtains. Look at that. Yeah. I just love this stuff. I really do. Basement, to have or have not. Depending on where you live, basements may or may not be a thing. Where I live, every house has a basement. Pretty much. That's a thing. This stuff is still relevant even today. I mean, honestly, I've never been craving whatever that is. The beef version of Spam. I can't say I've ever wanted that. So that's irrelevant here, but ready? Magnesium. Dow Magnesium for your magnesium needs. Magnesium tools. I don't recall ever seeing magnesium tools. But yeah, that's pretty much like the kind of fridge that would have been in this kitchen, and those double wide stoves. What are they? 48-inch ranges or bigger than that? 50 some inch. What surprises me is this sink. So if I were to replace this sink at any point in time, it would cost a bloody fortune unless I went with a smaller one. This sink, I measured it once, and it was it's really long. I don't know if this qualifies as a... Here, let me put the camera down, maybe. Stay. It is 42 inches, about 41, 43 inches from including the hootie ring. That's what that's actually called, by the way. It is a type of undermount sink. But anyway, 42-inch sink. Those command a premium. Something like $1,000 if they're in cast iron. Anyways, I think I mentioned earlier that I talked about replacing the countertops, but I want to keep the sink. There is one company in the world, I think, that actually resurfaces these, and I would send this off. I would happily send this thing out to be refinished. It has some chips in it, but it's not bad enough to where I'm too concerned. But if I'm going to reinstall it, I would have it refinished, more than likely. If I were to remove it and redo the counters and everything. But I would keep the metal banding, and I would keep the sink, because that is a beautiful sink. And there is nothing modern that can replace this. Not within the stratospheric price range I'm looking for. But anyway, we talked about vintage lighting, and that was the idea, but we kind of trailed off a little bit and looked at some magazines. Now, just because I know some of you folks who are really into fluorescent lighting, it's the vanity and light combination unit. Let's flick this thing on. I'll show you what it does. And when you turn it on, here we go. So this particular fixture is original to the house, making it about 66 years old. And it features two 18-inch fluorescent bulbs and a built-in outlet on the side there. I had to rewire this fixture for safety reasons. There was actually a lot of bare wire in there. There was the hot side was connected directly to the metal. There was a wire that had worn completely through, and yeah. So the only way that circuit would have been completed based on the wiring configuration and where that cut was or where that abrasion was, if you were to plug something into that outlet right there, it would complete the circuit and energize the cabinet, which is not recommended by the FDA. Given the location, we're talking serious problems. I'm actually going to rewire this fixture. But I'm going to wire it through the GFI outlet in the closet. I'm going to run a wire up through the ceiling and then come back down again. So that will never be a concern in the future. So it'll still be grounded for safety reasons. That's the idea. So that is actually going to happen. I was thinking about doing it this week. I just want to get it done. It has to be done. But anyways, so this is an old-fashioned magnetic ballast equipped with a starter. I believe that makes it a preheat start. Fixtures like this, they actually made preheat fixtures fairly recently. I have a lighted Simpsons, a Moe's Tavern bar sign that was made in the early 2000s that has a starter in it. Which is really surprising, but they made them up until very recently. Anyway, so one thing I've got to do to this cabinet though is I need to find some new acorn nuts. So I think I'm going to take one of these to work with me tomorrow and bring it to the local hardware store. This is a stamped steel nut, And it looks like threads might be, you know what, I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to wait on that. But I want to replace that. So, because they're starting to rust. But anyway, I thought I'd show you that fixture. That is the one original fluorescent fixture I have. But like I said, all light fixtures were replaced, with these. And I kind of like the way they look. They're not retro, but you know they're pretty much universal. But that right there is what that kitchen needed, and that is all it needed, except for maybe a floor. Let's talk about the floor for a sec, since I got a captive audience. So this is the original floor. It's a 9x9 tile. It's made out of, well, I've never had it tested. We'll just leave it at that. I've never had it tested. But I am going to probably do this. I'm going to take it up with my saw. I'm going to set the depth to my circular saw to be, so that I can cut right through the flooring and the underlayment, which is, I think it's either 3/4 or 7/8 plywood. I got to figure out exactly what I'm dealing with. So the dishwasher is going to come out. There's no plywood under the dishwasher, so I can get a good idea as to how thick it's got to be. But we're going to just go like this. Zing right down the middle and just cut it up into pieces to make it easier to pull out. And I'm then going to contact a company that properly disposes of A-word. You know what I'm talking about. And I just don't want to say it. They're going to dispose of it in a legal and safe manner. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to replace the underlayment. The subfloor is solid. Don't need to replace the subfloor, which is just pine boards. We're going to put some new underlayment. I'm going to do whatever thickness plywood this is. That's what's going to go down. I've toyed with the idea of doing ceramic tile. I have seriously considered ceramic tile as my new floor. It would make almost perfect sense. But I like the aesthetics of the VC tile. I think VC tile, the vinyl composite tile, that's the successor to this stuff. That's what's in the bathroom right now. I've done a vinyl composite floor already once before. And tile work, it's an art form. Anyone can do tile, but it takes some skill. It takes some practice to really get it right. Get the mortar mixed correctly. You know, there's a lot of tips and tricks of the trade that I do not know, and I'm not going to hire somebody to do it. I'm going to do it myself. So I feel more comfortable with VC tile myself. I know how to work with it, and I'm not afraid of it. But not only that, but this entire floor, given the age of the house, it has settled, and it's not a perfectly flat floor. There's a lot of areas where there's dips and curves, and I'm not going to jack the house up to fix that. So if I did tile, that would show up. It's funny, my parents bought a house that is 15 years old, and the floors in that house are just as crooked as these are. Go figure, right? They're just as crooked as these floors are. I found that to be befuddling. I noticed some areas as I'm walking around the house. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not a flat floor. What the hell's going on here? But anyway, I'm gonna do a vinyl floor, but it's gonna be black and white, alternating in a checkerboard pattern. I think that'll look really nice. I think that'll look really cool. So that's what's going on. And the nice thing about that is, let's say I hate it. Oh my God, it's gross, it's ugly, get rid of it. I can just take it off. Just take a heat gun, rip it off, and do tile. No big deal. Not a big deal. So anyway, thought you guys would appreciate that. Some of you folks I know, I've gone down the rabbit holes too, and I found people that are really into fluorescent lighting. Oh, real quick, some of you know that fluorescent bulbs are going to be taken out of production, and yes, I have prepared accordingly. The T9 Circline lights or bulbs you can still buy. They're not in the clearance bin just yet. You can still buy them from your local hardware store. They're not terribly expensive, and they last about 5 years a piece. I'm hoping that I'm going to get 30 years or so out of that fixture. I'm going to buy extra ballast. I'm going to buy 1 or 2 ballasts just to have on hand. And I bought 30 years worth of bulbs. So I'm committed to this. I'm just totally balls to the walls committed. I know that is a reference to the steam engines, not anything else. Okay. Yes. These bulbs will last me about 30 years. And I've gone prepared too. I bought extra starters and bulbs for the bathroom fixture. The one thing I do not have is a ballast, should the original magnetic ballast ever fail. If it does fail, I'll just rewire it with a rapid start ballast and I'll stuff it in the ceiling or something. I'll have to figure out a place to put it because there's not a lot of room there. The existing ballast is just this tiny little transformer, but that is not enough. I have to buy a few more of those. I'm going to think of it. That's a pretty weak inventory if you're going for a 30 to 40 year lifespan. By that time, the fixture will be almost 100 years old, and well, who will care? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I get 10 of them, so I'll get a couple more just to have them, and then hey, let's say that Waterworld happens, and we end up, by 2021, depending on how the election goes, the world is coming to an end. At that point, I won't care, and I'll just have all these bulbs sitting here, and maybe wouldn't that be funny if like fluorescent bulbs were suddenly used as currency? Guess what, guys? Hands off my bulbs. We have to use those as currency in the new world after happens. Then I am prepared. That's right. I am prepared. I'm the one with the bulbs, so you can't come and take my bulbs. Okay, well, that was fun. Thank you for watching, and you all have a great day. Get a room, you two. You guys. I don't know, man. Brothers. The brotherly bond between these two is just uplifting and heartwarming at the same time. You just look at them. Complete faith in one another, complete trust in one another. This is their favorite spot, right on our bed. It's just incredible. But if I walk any closer, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to mess with that. Yeah, they're having their brotherly cuddle time. But if I walk any closer, they're just going to, well, Tommy right there, he's going to bolt. Oreo, he'll meow at me and want me to pet him and scratch his ears and stuff. He likes that. But look at how peaceful and relaxed they are. Oreo? Yeah, see, he doesn't... They don't know their names. They're cats. Dogs would be like perking up and wagging their tails, but cats are a little different. He knows I'm here. What do you want? Leave us alone. You know what's funny? My camera has built-in facial recognition, and it recognizes their faces. It's doing facial enhancement automatically on these two. Aww. You guys.